Silicon Valley Bank customers waited in line to withdraw their money on Monday after the federal government stepped in to guarantee deposits following the bank's collapse. Depositors withdrew savings and investors broadly sold off bank shares on Monday as the federal government raced to reassure Americans that the banking system was secure. After two bank failures fed fears that more financial institutions could fall. Silicon Valley Bank customers lined up outside Silicon Valley Bank's headquarters in Santa Clara to withdraw the startup's money. President Joe Biden insisted that the system was safe after the second and third largest bank failures in the nation's history happened in the span of 48 hours. In response to the crisis, regulators guaranteed all deposits at the two banks and created a program that effectively threw a lifeline to other banks to shield them from a run on deposits. In other developments, the Federal Reserve announced that it would review its supervision of Silicon Valley Bank.
Quite nerve-wracking because all our money is primarily banked here, and being one of the largest banks in Silicon Valley, 15th largest in the US overall, I think nobody had thought that it should happen, and that in the manner in which it happened is we were panicking. I think a lot of us were panicking, and we're trying to get through in terms of how we open up different bank accounts quickly, and more so in terms of how we can, whether we'll get our cash back or, whatever money we are left with on the bank side.
Meanwhile, President Joe Biden on Monday told U.S. residents the nation's financial systems are sound following the swift and stunning collapse of two banks that prompted fears of a broader upheaval. The president, speaking from the Roosevelt Room shortly before U.S. markets opened, said he'd seek to hold those responsible and press for better oversight and regulation of larger banks. He also promised no losses would be borne by taxpayers. Governments in the U.S. and Britain were both taking extraordinary steps to prevent a potential banking crisis.
Lee for California. I want to briefly speak about what's happening in Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Today, thanks to the quick action of my administration over the past few days, Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe. Your deposits will be there when you need them. Small businesses across the country, the deposit accounts at these banks can breathe easier knowing they'll be able to pay their workers and pay their bills. And their hardworking employees can breathe easier as well. Last week, when we learned of the problems of the banks and the impact they could have on jobs of small businesses and banking system overall, I instructed my team to act quickly to protect these interests. They've done that. They've done that. On Friday, the government regulator in charge, the FDIC, took control of Silicon Valley Bank's assets. And over the weekend, it took control of Signature Bank's assets. First, all customers who had deposits in these banks can rest assured, rest assured they'll be protected and they'll have access to their money as of today. Second, the management of these banks will be fired. If the bank is taken over by FDIC, the people running the bank should not work there anymore. Third, investors in the banks will not be protected. They knowingly took a risk, and when the risk didn't pay off, investors lose their money.